I'm kind of slow at this. There we go. That's much better. The human benchmark is a series of 8 games used to compare abilities like reaction time and memory. I want to build a robot that places number 1 in the world for each of these games. Whenever I start a bot, it creates a new Chrome window and opens the website. But in this new window, I'm not logged in. This means that while I can play all the games, I can't save my scores to the same account. So the first step was really to create an account for the bot. Now, I wanted a name that wasn't too obvious because I wasn't sure if they banned bots on their website. After all, it's called the human benchmark test, not the robot benchmark test. That's why I chose the username BodyMcBotBot. Now, the account is disguised in plain sight. It's genius. Okay, so now I made the account, I also created a script to log in. This script basically automatically fills in the username and password as fast as possible, then clicks on login. Now, just for fun, I speedrun logging in myself so we can compare my time with the bot's time.
3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, I think I was beaten. Keep this speed in mind because we'll see exactly how fast the bot actually is with the speed typing test later in the video. The first game on the site is really the simplest. It's a reaction time test. The rules are fairly simple. As soon as you see green, you have to click as fast as you can. Now, I played the game on my own account, and let's just say the results explain why I used to be picked last at Dodgeball. On average, it took me around 300 milliseconds to react. That's really slow. Now, I can't react quickly, but let's see if I can code something that will react for me. The code for this bot is fairly simple. It constantly checks the color of a single pixel, and once that pixel turns green, it simulates a mouse click. Let's see it in action. As you can see, my bot is about 12 times faster than me and managed to beat out everybody in the world. The second game is sequence memory. Essentially, you have to repeat a pattern that keeps getting longer and longer. Now, the average person gets to around 10 steps before they start forgetting some of the sequence and messing up. For me, it took around 11 steps, but to be fair, I got a really tough pattern. Now, how do we go about coding a bot for this? Well, each time a square flashes white, the bot is going to save the square's coordinates in a really long list. Then, once the sequence is done, the bot will just start playing back the sequence by clicking on each coordinate in the same order they were added to the list. So let's take a look at how the bot performs. As you can see, the bot is working fairly well, so I left it on for a few hours, expecting that it would obviously break because nothing ever works on the first try. But to my surprise, it actually kept on going. This is what it looked like after about an hour. The only problem is that the sequence is starting to become really long. Now, just listening to a single sequence and playing it back can take around 5 minutes. So eventually, the bot is just progressing really slowly. That's why after 3 hours, I decided to mess up the bot intentionally, just so I could save my score. Once the score is saved, I could see the bot was obviously crushing anybody else's score, and I'm pretty sure this is a record for the site. The next game is Aim Trainer. You have to click on 30 targets as fast as you possibly can. Now, this game is really similar to Reaction Time, except you also have to move the mouse around. So, before making the bot, I tried to play the game for myself, and it went really poorly. I'm pretty sure being in the bottom 4% means that I'm never going to win a Valorant game in my life. But let's see what happens when I turn on the aimbot. Yeah, so it turns out that the bot can hit all 30 targets in under 1 second. That's around 15 times faster than a pro FPS player. I think it's safe to say, no one is ever beating that score. The next game in the list is number memory. In this game, you have to memorize all the digits of a number that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, the average person can remember a number that's about 7 digits long. And now that I think about it, that kind of explains why I can never remember a full phone number. So let's see if we can make a bot to remember the phone numbers for me. Each time the number changes, my bot will look directly at the website's source code and write down the new number in about 1/10 of a second. That new number is stored in my program's memory, and once the website's timer runs out, my code will write down the number directly in the input bar. Here's what the bot looks like when it's running. Now, you may have noticed, when the code's running, it's sort of skipping through the number input part. That's because the code is writing the answer and clicking so fast that it's almost instant. Here it is slowed down so you can see for yourself. Now, once the script was set up, I left it running overnight. When I woke up, here's what I saw. It's actually really funny, because at this point, the number was so big that it can't even fit on the screen. A regular person couldn't even tell the number, but since my bot sees the source code, it can keep on going forever. Now, unfortunately, the website has a mechanic that makes things a bit tougher for us. Every time the number gets a bit bigger, the time we have to memorize it also goes up. That means that it takes more and more time to advance a single level. So eventually, the levels were barely advancing. That's why I decided to stop the bot, and it turned out that I scored 297 points. I'm pretty sure no human is ever going to beat that score. Now, we're playing the verbal memory game. In this game, you have to say if you've seen a word before, or if it's a new word. This game has a fairly large spread in terms of score, and some people even remember up to 190 words. Now, for myself, I could only get to about 40, which is considered average. Creating a bot for this game is fairly straightforward. We essentially write down every word we see in a long bullet list. Then, when a word pops up, we check the list to see if the word was already seen before. If it wasn't, we click on New, and if it was seen before, we click on Seen. So once the bot was done, I left it running overnight. About 4 hours because my sleep schedule is really bad. And here's what the score looked like after the 4 hours. I got over 100,000 points. I got to this amount because the bot goes really fast. Here's what it looked like when it was running. Honestly, after that many guesses, I was really thinking we'd have gone through their entire word catalog and that all the same words would just be repeated. But even after 1.2 million words, they were still actually able to generate new ones, which is really impressive. I honestly didn't know that many words existed. So let's move on to the next game, the Chimp Test. In this game, you have to click on various squares in the order specified by their number. This test is called the Chimp Test because it was actually tried on monkeys, and the monkeys managed to get all the way to the 9th round. When I tried the game for myself, I actually got to the 11th round. So yeah, take that monkeys, I'm slightly smarter than you. weird flex aside, let's bring out the bot to see if it can destroy both me and the monkey. This bot searches for each number one by one and records their coordinates. Then, once it reaches the last number, it'll start clicking on the coordinates in the same order it recorded them. Here's what it looks like when I run the bot. Now, what's really cool about this test is that this game actually ends at a certain point, though I don't think a real person can ever reach the end. Once you reach level 41, the game ends up just stopping on its own. It's a bit unfortunate we can't make the bot go to like level 1000 or something, but at least we know that nobody will ever beat the bot because it reached the maximum. Here's what the final level looks like. Now, let's check out the visual memory test. In this game, you have to remember which squares turned white and repeat the pattern. Most people get to level 10 before there's just too many squares to remember and too little time to remember them. Luckily for us though, robots are fast and they have a lot of memory. So let's take a look and see how the bot performs. What's really cool about this game is that the board actually keeps growing and growing infinitely. So this is what a round looked like at level 120. Now, unfortunately for us, I don't think the developers intended for players to be able to get this far, because soon afterwards, the board and the score have stopped fitting on the screen. Here's the last level the bot was actually able to do. Notice how both the score and a portion of the board are cut off by the screen. Now, what happens here is that my bot is trying to click on the squares, but they're off screen, which means that the clicks just don't register. That being said, our score was actually so high that the website couldn't even fit it on its graph. Now's the time for the last test, and my favorite one, typing. So the world record for the fastest typer is around 216 words per minute. That's over 3 words a second. Now, let's see if I can build a bot to beat that record. So the bot starts off by reading the whole text and recording all of its letters one by one. Once it's done recording, it sends a keyboard press for each letter as fast as it can. Here's what it looks like when running. (9,141 words per minute. Wow. Now, the funny thing is that it was so fast to run that even slowing the video down, I couldn't find a single frame where the bot was actually in the process of writing the text. That means that the entire 90-word text was written in under a 30th of a second. So yeah, that's a really fast typing bot. If you want to watch any of the bot's full runs, I'll leave a video here. Thanks for watching, leave a like and subscribe.